Most B2B marketing is loud, bloated, and meaningless.
I call them accidental CEOs. They didn't set out to be a CEO, but here they are.
And here's where everything falls apart.
When that doesn't work, they turn up the volume. Saying less actually says so much more when it's the truth. Nobody knows who we are. You know, we're $5 million in revenue, and we're competing against these national companies.
Pete says the problem isn't marketing at all.
The good news is all these tech companies have that unique, true story. If you don't find that, if you don't have that clarity, what happens is you create programs, sales campaigns, marketing campaigns, products that are not tied to that core foundation, and they're not consistent. Within a half a year, they landed a $4 million client. Marketing's job, only job, is to create relationships between you and your customer.
Most B2B marketing is loud, bloated, and meaningless. Pete Stiege is here to fix that. With over 30 years of experience and a straight-talking guidebook called On Purpose and a soon-to-be-released book called Radical Clarity, Pete shows technical CEOs how to align leadership, culture, and marketing to drive growth with clarity. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. So great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you. It's hard to find guests who, willing to tell you a little bit about what they do. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent.
So I know in my research, I found that, you've said that B2B marketing is bloated and meaningless. So what do you mean by that? And where did you first start noticing it?
Well, Mike, first of all, just a little background. I was an engineer before I was in business and marketing and growth. And I find that a lot of the people that struggle, a lot of the CEOs that struggle the most with marketing for these tech B2B companies are the CEOs that started as a technical person. And I think
like
and there's a lot of people, I call them accidental CEOs, right? They didn't set out to be a CEO, but here they are. And one of the challenges with that is they're very used to talking about what they do and believing in what they do. And that comes out in their marketing. And the effect of that is a lot of, I hate to say it, but it's noise as far as their prospects are concerned about what they do and them, when what their clients really need to hear is about the client and how you can help solve their problem. So that bloatedness comes from this perspective of approaching your client to say, hey, let me tell you what we can do for you. And when that doesn't work, what do? Well, they turn up the volume. They try to say it more. They pay for more ads. They try to put more words on their website. And that turning up the volume is absolutely the opposite thing in this crazy, busy, noisy world we live in to solve the problem. So that's what I mean by being bloated. And what I see, the quick answer to that, in a large part of what my business is about stopping, getting clear on your purpose, your meaning, right? That's why I talk about marketing with meaning. And so my new book is called Radical Clarity. It's this idea that saying less actually says so much more when it's the truth about your value for them and the truth about their problems.
You mentioned your book On Purpose, and I noticed it emphasizes the why behind marketing. So how come so many companies skip that step?
Well, it really is tied to what we were just talking about, this perspective. That's one of the problems. Is it has to do with this perspective of, if you only knew what we could do for you, then that would you'd surely sign on. So that's this view that it's the facts and it's the statistics, it's the data that will convince them. It's very much an engineer's point of view. It's how we were trained and how we grew, right? And that is not the why. That is the what or the how. sometimes both. If you know Simon Sinek and his golden circle, to get to the why, you have to start with the customer and then find the connection between what you do and what your customer's biggest problems are that you can help them with, and get crystal clear on what it is that you can do to help them with that problem. That's the why, right? That's why you have the business you have. Really, at the end of the day, yeah, you really believe in the technology, but at the you won't have a business if you don't solve the problems with your product, right? So that why has to be found. Often it's not even known or clearly understood, and then it has to be communicated very, very simply and clearly. That's what I mean by the why.
So, you were mentioning how people want to throw all this info out there about themselves and numbers, and they think that's going to convince people. And it made me think that, as a podcast host, I get pitched on LinkedIn all the time from people who are podcast promoters or video editors, and they all make the same claims that, I'm going to increase your numbers, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, without ever asking me what I need. And so I've taken, as a coach, I've just taken lately to saying to them, I really think you guys should brush up on your marketing approach, because nothing that you've said to me even inspires me to continue a conversation with you, let alone hire you. And then most of them will ask why. Some will just say thanks and move on. But most of them will ask why, and I'll explain it. You came at me. You don't know anything about me. You came at me. You're asking me all these things that you telling me all these things you're going to do. How do you know those are my goals? You especially, I get it a lot with this show. We're a YouTube focused show, and I get the promoters who want to promote me on Spotify. I don't care about Spotify. It's there because guests like you get asked to come on the show, and first place you go to look for a podcast is Apple and Spotify. If it's not there, I've gotten questions like, well, how come you don't have any episodes out? So I put it out there for that reason. It's really the only reason. So I think it's interesting because I think they need clarity on how to approach people. So could you tell me maybe a moment when you realized that the CEO that you were working with needed more than a marketing plan? They needed clarity.
Oh, great question. I'll share a common scenario with several of clients that I've had. We start a conversation. It's their business. They have a problem, and that problem is some version of, I want to grow. They don't have the leads that they think they need, or another client has very competitive environment, and we just look like everybody else. How can we possibly get their attention? Another one, it's all about cost. Other people are offering it cheaper. It's not as good as ours, but people don't get it. And it's all the third version of that is nobody knows who we are. We're $5 million in revenue, and we're competing against these national companies. How do I get people to know that we're here and that we're the right for their problem? All three of those are suffering from a clarity problem. And we talked about the why and that you need that story that resonates. But it's also directly connected with this issue of noise and too much. Without that clarity about your core value, and if you can't uncover a unique purpose that you have that nobody else has, you've got a bigger problem than not having a marketing message or not having clarity. You have a business problem because you're at risk of a commoditization, and you don't have if you truly are not different than anybody else, you don't really have a business model at the end of the day. But I believe the good news is all these tech companies, they have that unique true story. I call it the true story, that some combination of capabilities or target or their product, whatever it is, the combination or how they serve their clients, they do that for a certain group unlike anybody else. And if you find that, if you don't find that, if you don't have that clarity, what happens is you create programs, sales campaigns, marketing campaigns, products that are not tied to that core foundation, and they're not consistent, right? You might have one marketing message that is talking about how fast your solution is. Another one might be having to do with some other category, right? Some other thing. Or you might be talking to one target with one message and another target with another message. The problem with that decentralized business model is your customers aren't going to hear just the one message, right? At the end of the day, they're getting, if they're in your target market, they're getting data points about you from your website, from your salespeople, from your product support people, all the different points. If they're not consistent, you just give up, right? Because you're busy and you don't have time to try to make sense of it. So having those problems I talked about are symptoms of not having clarified and uncovered your true story, and then built your outbound business, not just marketing, all of your outbound business and your employee leadership components. You haven't built them to hold together. And as the world changes, as your product changes, as you grow, as the competitors change, it doesn't hold together. And then now you end up with this Frankenstein experience for your customers.
So why is it that so many B2B companies fail to align leadership and marketing?
Yeah, Mike, what a great question. They do. They think of them as two different things. And what I like to say is that marketing is thought leadership, and your team is, leadership of your team it's really the same thing. It's based on the same dynamic. And it's clear they don't, because what I see is, think about all the leadership books that are out there, all the corporate leadership, hundreds of classic leadership books, servant leaders, and all the different ideas. And then you think about talking to your clients and your customers, and those ideas, they're not even considered mostly. And the truth is, you are leading your market, your clients, your prospects, just like you're leading your team. And if you find that core true story, you want to use the same tools of being selfless, modeling the future, focusing on them and not you. Those things apply both to your employees and your prospects and your customers. And people miss that all the time. You're right. Have you ever found somebody that views those two as the same? I really haven't.
No. And I mean, I was thinking about the question because I used to work for America's largest restaurant delivery service back when it wasn't a big thing like it is today. And one of the things that I always railed about was, I sat on the executive team. And so all of the directors were on this executive team, and then the three owners. And the poor marketing guy would get stepped all over on things like, leadership wants to do this, so marketing, you can set aside on this. Leadership wants to do that. And like there was, I never felt like anyone, like for instance, as the tech guy, the marketing guy would try to do something that maybe needed tech. The leadership would never prioritize the time to get that done. They always had their little pet projects that they wanted us to work on in the tech department. And it used to frustrate the heck out of me, because then at the same time, we had a management consultant that would come in on a monthly and run our management meeting for us. And he would emphasize how important it was for marketing to, bring that customer to the forefront so that sales could close the deal. And you say, well, we're not giving the poor marketing guy the tools he needs to do it because we're not aligned. We're so far out of alignment. And as a tech guy, alignment's really important to me, because if you come to me and, we're working together in a company and you say, I need this report changed. Well, that's great. But have we talked to everybody who uses this report to make sure it's not going to render it useless to them? There has to be alignment within a business. And I think that's where people go wrong. It is just in general. So how does B2B Clarity, your company, help CEOs move from reactive, chaotic marketing to something that's more focused and consistent?
We focus on meaning, and we get to the meaning by with clarity. And once we find that meaning, we turn it into action with purpose. So those are abstract concepts. So let me go into a little more detail. I have something what I call the CMP wave, right? And that's this idea. It's a meaning sandwich. The middle is meaning. Meaning is that core true story we were talking about, right? So I think I made the point about the power of understanding the true value of what you do. It holds up, right? It aligns. It's all those things. But you can't just jump in and say, what's our meaning? And we'll write it down. It's like those committee meetings for writing your mission statement, right? Where, okay, let's put all the corporate words on the board and arrange them in a word salad. Meaning has to be true, right? To be meaningful, to be powerful. And so the way you get to that meaning is you have to start by clearing the noise and moving, blowing the smoke out of the way to get to what it is that's so special about your business and your team and what you guys are doing. And so that's where I say it starts with clarity. So don't turn up the volume, actually turn down the volume, focus on understanding this meaning. And then once you have that meaning, when you start with that, what I do is I help my clients through a process to take that meaning and then help the CEO build that into their leadership program, how they lead their team. It's some personal things. It helps them from a coaching perspective, but it's also strategic things, learning from best practices, universal best practices about how you apply that truth and manage change and use that truth to inspire your team, align your team, and create a strategy for your business, which is very focused on your team as well. And then that strategy, which I call a growth engine, right? The GPS growth engine, that stands for goals, programs, and systems. That's that ecosystem of meaning and purpose that is not wishy-washy abstract things. These are the real gears that run your business. What are the very few marketing things we should be doing that will actually move the needle? What are the account management initiatives that make all the difference using the 80-20 rule? There's one or two that are so much more important than all the other things we're keeping ourselves busy with. What are the sales campaigns that will really affect our bottom line? What are the product features and capabilities that will make all the difference for us next year?
Do you have an example or maybe any example where marketing clarity directly led to business growth?
Yeah, I do. So I had a client that is in the test engineering market. They're a services company. So they're experts at test engineering, software test. There was just 3 of them in the company at the time. They had some contracting help, but it was 3 experts, and they had $1 million in revenue. They're good at what they did, but they needed their business was designed to help the biggest of the big software companies. So companies, billion-dollar companies that had a major software component to them.
So let's kind of shift gears just a little bit. What's a piece of business jargon that you wish you could erase from every pitch deck forever?
You may not call this a business jargon, but I think it is. Silver bullet. this is going to be a silver bullet for us. This is going to, this campaign, this marketing campaign, or this product feature. And I'm a believer that there is really no such thing as a silver bullet when it comes to tech B2B business, not just marketing, business in general. Success, there's no one size fits all anything. And there's not one magic bean that is going to demonstrably change things for you. What really happens is when you're organized around your truth, that you build a portfolio of actions that together are consistent and reinforce each other. And with your product, with your outreach, with your support, all of that builds on it, right? So that idea of a silver bullet is, I've seen so many business leaders think, over and over again, they'll say, oh, we're going to try SEO. SEO is going to solve all our problems. We're going to, build this into the website, and oh my gosh, the orders are they're going to line up. Agile methodology. We're going to implement that everywhere. And oh my God, our problems are solved. Go on and on, pick your term. So it's less the jargon and more the idea, the faith that any one thing, it's like a free lunch idea, right? It's for some reason, all you got to do is really try and know, you're going to be special somehow. It just doesn't work that way. So I find that there's a really important effort to educate and to help the company grow into this idea that everything you do, when you align, the more you can align it. I love that you brought up the word alignment. The more that you can align all of your behaviors, actions, content, communications, product, everything, that's the secret to success. And that's not easy. It's not, silver bullets are easy. That's, I think, partly the reason they're so tempting is it's like, oh, if I do this one thing, everything's going to change.
So earlier we talked about how a lot of your clients are engineers turned CEOs. What's the funniest marketing myth that they've believed before working with you?
Well, silver bullets one. If we build it, they will come. We just got to tell them about what we've done, this really cool thing, which we love and we believe in. They just don't know about it. So we'll just put it out on our website, on our homepage. And people are going to all flock to our homepage for some reason and find this detailed story about our capabilities. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I think 7% of people find you through your homepage, right? If they go to your website,
right?
That's not the way websites work, especially today. But more, not just website wise, in general, this idea that, wow, we just have to open the door and they're going to walk in and see what we do. And it's the truth is so opposite of that, right? Think of yourself, Mike. I think of my busy day. There's always more to do than you can do.
Always.
So you always have to say no. You have to, whether you do it on purpose or not, or you just don't get to it. You're saying no to more than you're saying yes to. So people aren't going to just have idle time and say, I wonder if there's a website somewhere with a new product for this field, and I'm going to go looking for that. And you might say, oh, well, that's what search is. Fair enough. But that is back to the burning issue. That's not about them finding your website. That's
right.
About them looking for help to the problem, that pain they have. And if your website talks about your product, they're going to miss it because what they are looking for is show me the solution. Just like when I have to replace the light, my headlight on my car, and I Google or I go on YouTube and search for my car and how to fix, I get a website that solves my problem, and that's the one I click on. All customers are the same in that way, in that it's just not a YouTube video. It's whatever you do. You need to present like a how-to YouTube video that, that's exactly what I need to do. I'm going to take my cell phone out to the garage because I can follow along. Your product needs to be the answer to literally what they are looking for if it's an SEO solution.
So if every technical founder turned CEO could internalize just one truth about marketing, something that they really need to hear, what would it be?
Marketing's only job, is to create relationships between you and your customer. It's as simple as that. And creating relationships starts with meaning. If they don't have a reason to connect with you, what we just talked about, they won't. Your job with marketing is to find your meaning and let that be the reason, that purpose for your prospects to take the effort in their busy life to learn about you and research you, and then trust you and commit to you. All comes from meaning.
This has been a great conversation. You have a really interesting view on marketing that I actually appreciate, especially being exactly who you talk about, a tech person who, is now a CEO of multiple businesses. And marketing is not, has never been a strong point of mine, but has become better. I've gotten better at it over the years. So I've really appreciated, some of the things that you've said. How can my audience get in touch with you?
Well, Mike, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, you are an accidental CEO. I've created some free resources that I'd love to offer your listeners, and they can get to that at my website, b2b-clarity.com/gain for your website. So that's b2bclarity.com/gain. There's an audit for accidental CEOs for you to do an online assessment to see where your gaps are. If you share what Mike and I know, it's like to be an accidental CEO. And there's worksheets for my new book, Radical Clarity, and excerpts from the book as well.
Thanks so much for being here. And again, I appreciate you taking the time. It's not always easy to give up some time in your day to talk to somebody, just for fun.
It was great, Mike. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for including me.
Me too. So if you're a technical founder and you're stuck in a marketing fog, Pete just handed you the flashlight. From cutting bloat to finding clarity, his work at B2B Clarity and in his books On Purpose, as well as Radical Clarity, they prove that marketing doesn't have to be complicated to be powerful. It just has to be meaningful. If this episode made you rethink your messaging mission or strategy, good. That's kind of the point. So go over to b2bclarity.com to learn more, grab a copy of the books, and get started leading your growth with intention. And hey, if you liked this, hit subscribe, leave us a comment, tell us what one point Pete made today really stuck with you. And share the episode with that one CEO friend who's still using buzzwords like silver bullet. Thanks for being here for another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. We'll see you again next Wednesday.